Hi there. Well, I know the word Ivy League is probably something that you've come across at one point or the other. It denotes, the very best of education. But as much as we strive for it, I don't think most of us understand what Ivy Leagues mean. And also, most of us tend to sort of, uh, you know, not be as much aware of the Ivy League education. And in fact, that there are opportunities that allow you to study at, a Harvard Business School with very, very little work experience. In fact, none at all. My name is Anand Venkateshan. As the founder and mentor of mentorscapital.com, we are a platform that helps students with, admissions abroad. We do this by connecting students with mentors across the globe. If you want to go to an Ivy League school, do contact me. I'll probably connect you with an expert mentor from there. But the case I'm going to make in today's video is that it is possible, even when you're in college, pursuing an undergraduate program, it is possible to very, very seriously consider going to an Ivy League school, right? And all you need to do is think about it early and execute your plans, right? All right, so let's get started. The idea here is that, what exactly is an Ivy League school, right? So we probably tackle that first. It's a fairly straightforward definition, but understanding it could be important, and understanding the pedigree of schools that I'm talking about here is important. Number two, understanding the usual eligibility criteria, as well as, why I say that, an Ivy League education could actually be possible for you, even with as little as, 0 to 2 years of work experience, right? And finally, how to go to Harvard without having done a great deal of work, right? How to convince the panel at Harvard that, you're somebody with potential for leadership, right? And don't worry, this video is going to talk about exactly that. Let's before I begin, let me also quickly tell you that our entire processes in our company are based on mentorship. We have a vast network of mentors. It's growing by the day, and these are people who've gone through the exact same journey as you are, right? A lot of our mentors actually thought very early of studying at a master's, and some others thought pretty late, went there even after doing the master's program or an MBA in India, right? So we have people from the entire spectrum, right? People who went there early, people who went there late, people who took their time to decide and settle on what they wanted to do, and people who thought early and then chased their dreams, right? So find somebody who sort of lives and breathes your philosophy in life, and hopefully you'll make better informed choices and achieve success in your chosen career. All right, so first question, right? What are the Ivy Leagues? Well, everybody knows Ivy Leagues are, the creme de la creme of universities, but it turns out that we're talking about only 8 of the top ranked universities in the US. All of these are private universities, which should, raise a few eyebrows, because, traditional wisdom says that, if you want to study in the US, then you should go for a national or a state university, because they tend to be more, they tend to have a great deal of history. They tend to be also funded partly by the federal government or the state government, and can also be a little cheaper and also give you more scholarship opportunities, right? But surprise, surprise, the private universities, 8 of them to be precise, are what are known world over as the Ivy Leagues, right? We're talking about the familiar names like the Harvard, Stanford, Columbia, New York Stern, etc. But I mean, suffice to say that, these are the top 8 in the US, right? And traditionally, these are the best 8 universities, and the rankings, year-on-year rankings that come out, on US News, on Financial Times, on even, the more respected, recently prominent QS World Rankings, tend to put these universities in the top 18 to 20 in the world at any point in time, right? And so, while they are the top, pedigree schools in the US, they also tend to consistently be in the top ranks. And what that means for you is that the admission processes are extremely competitive. They can be extremely picky when it comes to the kind of candidate they seek. and very small differences could make or break your chances of getting into a dream college or university, right? So keep in mind that about 25,000 people apply to Harvard on an annual basis, and these are all 25,000 probably have spectacular profiles, right? So it's a very competitive process, and most people sort of opt out before even they get into the race because they don't believe that they stand a chance, right? And I'm going to make I'm going to make you change that opinion, right? So the idea is that you should still consider an Ivy League education, even though I'm talking about the creme de la creme, very, very competitive to get in kind of universities. But it turns out that a lot of these also have a very, very different intake besides the mainstream intake, right? The normal MBA, 1 year or 2 year MBA, most of them have a 2 year MBA, right? The Ivy League ones at least. And while their mainstream admission processes are very competitive, most of these also tend to have a deferred enrollment, right? Which means that you apply in your final year, but you also, don't start your education immediately. They give you 2 to 5 years to, go out there, work, take a few risks in your job, learn more about sectors and about your own competencies, and then come study with us, with a better advanced version of yourself. And hopefully that will make you competitive in class, right? So that's what these schools say. So, that's a very good reason why you should consider studying for a deferred program. I'll quickly take you back to the list. Stanford has a deferred MBA. So does Harvard. It has something called a 2+2. Wharton has, University of Pennsylvania's Wharton School has a deferred admission program. Yale calls it Silver Scholars. Sloan calls it early admission. But, the intent is the same, that you apply in your final year of college. Once admitted, you are given a period of 2 to 5 years, depending on, what you put forth as your goals and how much time you need to become competitive. And obviously you need to apply with your GMAT score, but you need to do that in the final year of your college. Some schools also allow you to apply in your pre-final year, like India's ISB, Indian School of Business, allows you to apply 2 times, right? In the pre-final year and the final year. So make sure that you check out the eligibility criteria. And I mean, I think 2 distinct advantages of applying for the deferred admission is that, number one, there's a smaller pool of candidates that you're competing with, right? So as opposed to, let's say, the tens of thousands of candidates for the mainstream program from across the world, deferred programs see, maybe a few thousands applying, right? So the playing field is much, much smaller, and creating an impression here, standing out here might just be easy, right? So try to show diversity, try to not be run of the mill, right? I think a lot of us make the mistake of, good in acads, do a little bit of POR, do a little bit of social work, and just keep, tick all the boxes. And instead of just doing that, now, I'm not saying that that's not a good idea, but I'm just saying that don't be run of the mill when you're applying for a deferred program. Try to find that extra X factor in yourself and make sure that you explore that X factor throughout, your school and college, if possible, right? Is that sport? Is that, adventure? Is that work experience? Is that something else, right? Find it from your profile, right? And the second big advantage of applying for a deferred admission is that the admission rounds tend to be later for you, which means that instead of applying right now for the fall intake next year, you will be applying in the later rounds, which will probably be around January to Feb, right? Jan, Feb, March are the months that become critical for you. So what that means is that the cycle is different, and it also fits in very, very neatly with your, college exam calendar, right? Most of you will probably have exams in around September and then again around March, right? So there's a big yawning gap in between when you can take the GMAT, get a good GMAT score, apply for a deferred admission program, and make sure that your essays are fantastically written, your LORs are fantastic. And because the cycle is different from the B school admissions in India, you can also build your profile a little more, right? It gives you a greater sort of duration to build up your profile. And, well, it also helps if you can get a job, right? Most placement seasons tend to sort of finish around the month of December, January, right? So try to get a job under your belt, try to sort of because that also means that your employability is not under question, that you can also be very, very confident about the kind of experience you would gain, even if it's not your dream company. At least talk about the transition that you would go through, right? So that's why I would say consider a deferred admission program very, very seriously. Three important considerations, right? Make sure that you look at the program structure and the school that you're going to target, because all schools are not the same. They all have, they're all Ivy Leagues, but each comes in with a greater focus on one or the other aspect. Some schools are great for entrepreneurship. Some schools are great for tech, and entrepreneurship. So understand what you want and understand what the school stands for when you apply. And finally, also make sure that you go through the admission criteria for each of these programs, right? While they're more or less the same, right? Reading the fine print could be all important, right? And doing that early and making sure that you give yourself that chance, to fulfill all the criteria is important, right? So make sure that you do that. Well, how to apply? Well, the deferred admission is no different from the from normal admissions. You need to present an updated, spectacular resume, right? A one-pager that talks about the breadth of your engagements as well as the depth of your knowledge and expertise. Make sure that you have a stellar TOEFL or IELTS score. Some universities tend to waive this off, but I'm still going to let that be. A GMAT score, well, it is optional in most universities, I know, but to get into the Ivy Leagues, I think a 720 plus score is still required, right? So a good GRE, or on the GRE, then you're talking about a 325, 330 maybe on the GRE, right? So that's the score that you want to target. You also need to write a very, very clear statement of purpose, and your essay should make a case for why you're applying at such an early stage in your career. What tells you that you will do well in your chosen field, and finally, what are your X factors? How do you stand out from the rest of the batch and other applicants to the MBA program, right? And that's important when it comes to applying to an Ivy League, as it is to any other university abroad. Your letters of recommendation, obviously, most of these will be from your teachers and professors in college, but try to get one or more from a past employer, an internship that you studied and that you did, which can talk volumes about your professional commitment, right? And last but not the least, make sure that you do so in the final year of your program, because that's when the most of these consider you eligible. What are the advantages? I know I've spent the better part of the last few minutes talking about this, but let's quickly sort of put that all together. Number one, you can start your management journey early, much earlier, in fact, than conventional MBA programs. You can commit to a particular degree, a particular discipline, and really drive that home in early in your career. You are also able to take a lot more risk if you get admission, because otherwise you're shackled by the need to show continuity in employment. You're shackled by the need to show consistency also, right? But well, and in fact, a reason why most of us also don't work with small companies or startups is because brands are valued. But if you get a deferred admission, then maybe you could take a risk or two by working with a startup, maybe starting your own company, and those risks are much easier taken if you have the comfort of an admission from a top B school abroad, right? So that's number two. Now what else? Number three, you also get to access a much wider network, and you can do that much earlier, right? As early as you get admission, you can start tapping into the network. You can start connecting with people in the program, within your own cohort as well as outside of it. And this early engagement with a very hyper competitive cohort can really make a big difference in your lives. It opens up your outlook and brings out your competitive self, right? And I think that's invaluable. And finally, I think this is a topic that most people don't consider is the fact that, well, getting to the Ivy Leagues becomes especially harder once you leave college, because, well, most of us tend to sort of, once there's a break in education, we also tend to become lax. It's very difficult to go back to, opening books and dealing with math and whatnot. and not to mention the time you need to commit to do all of these, right? So it's much easier to do all of that if you're doing it right after college. If you're doing it in your final year of college, there's no break. It's easier to cope with GMAT, easier to cope with academic stuff, early on in your career, and this can really mean a big thing, especially for us out of India, where risks are hard to take, and our family system also sort of endears us to take these choices much earlier, right? So think about this long and hard. I'm here to help you out. I'm here to guide you. If you need anything, we can guide you with every step of the way. You can prepare with us for the GRE or the GMAT exam. We can also support you through the deferred admission process, right? Help you craft impactful essays, write good letters of recommendations, even prepare for the multiple assessments. Most of these colleges also increasingly prefer video assessments and besides written essays, and so we can give you a lot of info and a lot of preparation for those aspects of your admission journey, right? Well, my name is Anand Venkatesh, and I hope you liked the points I made in this video. Do write into me, do like and subscribe this video if you're still watching, and do click on the link in the description. Reach out to us, and hopefully I'll be able to answer all the questions that you can throw at me. Right? Thank you. Have a great day, and wish you all the very best, my friends.